In the early 1980s, the unsettling story of Dorothy Jane Scott unfolded, leaving a trail of mystery and unanswered questions. Dorothy, a 32-year-old single mother and secretary, lived in Stanton, California, and worked at a local swingers club. Her life took a chilling turn when a series of disturbing events began to unfold. The haunting saga began with persistent and unnerving calls to Dorothy at her workplace. The unidentified caller alternated between declarations of love and disturbing, threatening messages. What made these calls even more terrifying was the caller's intimate knowledge of Dorothy's daily activities and personal life. As the harassment escalated, Dorothy's fear grew. She took steps to protect herself, including attending self-defense classes and considering a firearm permit. The anonymous caller, however, continued to torment her. Then, in 1980, the situation took an even darker turn. One night, Dorothy attended a meeting at work, and a colleague fell ill. Concerned for her colleague, she offered to drive him to the hospital. After dropping him off, she went to retrieve her car from the hospital parking lot. It was then that she mysteriously vanished. Weeks passed with no sign of Dorothy, and her family was left in agonizing uncertainty. Then, in early August 1980, a grim discovery was made. Dorothy's charred remains were found in a remote area of Santa Ana. Strangely, her belongings, including her purse and jewelry, were found at the scene. But the identity of her killer and the motive behind the crime remained elusive. The unsettling part of Dorothy Jane Scott's story doesn't end there. In the months following her death, the anonymous calls persisted, now haunting her grieving family. The caller chillingly recounted details of Dorothy's murder and claimed responsibility for ending her life. Decades later, the identity of the caller and Dorothy's murderer remains unknown. The Dorothy Jane Scott case remains one of the most perplexing unsolved mysteries in true crime history, leaving behind a legacy of fear, unanswered questions, and a family forever haunted by the tragic events that unfolded. Issei Sagawa's story is a chilling and infamous tale that blurs the lines between true crime and the macabre. Born in Japan in 1949, Sagawa's life took a dark turn that would shock the world. In 1981, Issei Sagawa was a postgraduate student in Paris. However, behind the facade of a seemingly ordinary student, Sagawa harbored gruesome desires. His obsession with cannibalism reached a horrifying climax when he murdered and cannibalized his fellow student, Renee Hartevelt. Sagawa invited Renee to his apartment under the pretext of discussing poetry. Once inside, he shot her in the back and proceeded to carry out unspeakable acts on her lifeless body. Sagawa documented the macabre event with photographs, and then began to consume parts of her corpse. His heinous crime didn't go unnoticed. Sagawa was apprehended by French authorities, but the shocking nature of the crime and legal loopholes led to a bizarre turn of events. Deemed legally insane, he was declared unfit to stand trial and was committed to a mental institution in France. However, the story takes an even more disturbing twist. Sagawa's wealthy father managed to secure his release, exploiting legal technicalities, and brought him back to Japan. Once back in his home country, Issei Sagawa became a minor celebrity, often appearing in the media, writing books, and even finding work as a restaurant critic. The case sparked outrage and controversy, as many questioned the adequacy of the legal system in handling such a gruesome crime. Sagawa's notoriety raised unsettling questions about fame and the moral responsibility of society. Issei Sagawa's story remains a horrifying testament to the complexities of justice and the unsettling allure of infamy. His actions shocked the world and left an indelible mark on discussions surrounding mental health, criminal responsibility, and the boundaries of human decency. The Chicago Tylenol Murders is a terrifying chapter in the history of product tampering that unfolded in the fall of 1982, spreading fear and distrust across the United States. In September 1982, 7 individuals in the Chicago area fell victim to a lethal dose of cyanide poisoning after ingesting extra-strength Tylenol capsules. The victims, ranging from 12 to 35 years old, had taken the popular over-the-counter pain reliever, unaware that the capsules had been tampered with. The investigation that followed revealed a chilling act of intentional contamination. Someone had infiltrated the supply chain, placing cyanide-laced capsules on store shelves. The contaminated Tylenol bottles came from different manufacturing plants, pointing to a deliberate and widespread attack on the product. In response to the crisis, Johnson & Johnson, the maker of Tylenol, took unprecedented action. The company swiftly recalled 31 million bottles of Tylenol, costing them over $100 million. They introduced tamper-evident packaging, setting a new standard for consumer product safety. Law enforcement faced a daunting challenge in identifying the perpetrator, as the tampering appeared to be random, with no apparent connection between the victims. The case led to the implementation of stricter regulations regarding product packaging and tamper-resistant seals. Despite extensive investigations, the identity of the person responsible for the Chicago Tylenol murders remains unknown. The incident forever changed how companies approach product safety and packaging, emphasizing the need for tamper-proof measures to protect consumers. The Chicago Tylenol murders serve as a haunting reminder of the vulnerability of everyday products to malicious intent and the tragic consequences of such actions. The case remains unsolved, leaving a dark legacy that continues to influence product safety practices to this day.